I knew as soon as I saw the Polar Express collection by CN Designer Dips, I wanted to do a winter-themed mani, and I am just so in love with the color story of this collection, and the glitters in here are just so gorgeous, and I wanted to make sure that they really popped and showed their true beauty, and my favorite way to do that is by encapsulating glitters with clear builder gel. I have my tried and true clear dip powders. However, it's not the same as when you encapsulate with clear builder gel. So if you want to see my process for using gel method for dip powder nails as well as encapsulating glitters in builder gel, stick around and we'll get into it. Jumping right into it, as I mentioned in my intro, I will be doing gel method for this dip powder mani. So I'm going to be using my CN Designer Dips gel base and gel top coat, and these are both a HEMA-free formula. Now the main difference between using dip liquids and gel liquids is the way that they cure. So when you're using dip liquids, those are air dry liquids. So they really cure when you apply activator. So that's what hardens your dip powder. Whereas when you're using gel, it does not cure until you cure it in your lamp. So you do need a lamp, either a UV or LED lamp or a combination UV LED. So it will not set, it will not cure until you put it in the lamp. And the major advantage of this is time. You can take your time, you don't have to rush, you don't have to worry about it drying on you. So for what I'm doing right now, I'm using Burr, which is my blue color, and that's gonna go both on my index finger and middle finger. So I can do both fingers at the same time. So I'm going ahead and applying my gel base to both my nails, just a thin, even layer. I wanna make sure that I'm avoiding my skin. And then once I have my gel base covered on both my nails, I'm gonna go ahead and pour over Burr to absorb that wet gel base. If I were using dip base, using my dip liquids, I would have to do one finger at a time because I wouldn't want the dip base to dry on me before I could finish the other nail. So I'm pouring over Burr, I'm tapping off the excess powder, and then if it's still a little wet looking, if the powder has absorbed all the gel base and it's still looking a little wet, I will pour over a little bit more just to absorb all of that gel base. And then, of course, I want to make sure that I'm cleaning up everything really well before I cure it. Uncured gel on your skin can lead to a gel allergy, so I'm really careful when I'm working with gels. So I'm taking my precision tool and I'm making sure that I'm cleaning up around my cuticle area and my sidewalls, making sure I don't have any product on my skin before I cure it. When you're working with gels, I don't recommend that you dip directly into the jar because your gel base remains wet. So if you dip into the jar, you could displace the gel, you could move it, and it could get on your skin. So whenever I'm working with gels, I always make sure I either pour over or I very gently lay flat in, depending on what I'm doing. And you'll see for when I get to the glitters on my second layer, I do lay flat, but I do it very carefully because you can move the gels and I want the gels to stay where they are. So that's one thing you need to watch out for when you do gel method. So I went ahead and cured my first layer for 30 seconds. So now I'm just taking a little bit of a stiff scrub brush and I'm making sure to dust off the excess powder. I like to use a little stiffer of a brush when I'm doing gel method because then I know it's cured. Whereas if I use a stiffer brush with dip base, I'm always worried it's not fully dry and I'm going to mess up my dip powder. So I don't use a fluffy brush. I usually use a stiffer brush working with gel method. So for my second layer, it's going to be the same. So I'm going to apply a thin, even layer of that gel base to my nails, making sure I'm avoiding my skin. If I missed any areas, which I did in my first layer, I want to make sure that's fully covered as well. And I'm going to do both nails at the same time again. So I'm working with my index finger and middle finger. I'm going to apply the gel base to both fingers before I pour over the powder. So one of the things I really love about doing gel method is it is a bit quicker because I feel like it's more efficient to be able to do multiple nails at one time. But I will say, if you are clumsy, if you are prone to knocking your fingers, things like that, you have to be really careful because you've got the uncured wet gel on your fingers, so you could bump it and mess it up before you cure it. So I'm really careful, trying not to bump into anything. I only do one color at a time for that reason though. I don't want to try doing all my fingers at one time and increase the risk of messing up my powder, my gel before I cure it. You can sort of see parts of my nail are a darker blue, so what that means is there's still wet gel base. So all the powder was absorbed and there's still some gel base coming through, which is why I go ahead and pour more powder in, because I want to make sure that all the gel base is fully absorbed. I went ahead and cleaned up my sidewalls and cuticle area, and then I'm curing for 30 seconds. I cured my nails for 30 seconds, so now I'm going to make sure to dust off the excess powder using my stiff scrub brush, and then I'm going to move on to my next dip, which is Fresh Snow, and wait till you see the name is quite appropriate. So this is going to go on my pinky and my thumb. So I will say, typically when I'm working with just gels, I'm not doing any dip powder. When I'm working with just gels, I always like to do my thumb separately. And that's because if I'm laying my hand flat in my lamp, my thumb is sitting off to the side, and I don't want my gel to run into my sidewalls because my thumb is sideways. However, when I'm doing this, the gel method with dip powder, I can do both at one time. So I went ahead and did my pinky. I applied my gel base to my pinky. I poured over Fresh Snow. I didn't pick up any of the like larger glitter pieces, which is good because regardless of whether I'm using gel or dip liquids, I want to make sure that I don't pick up any chunky pieces in my first layer because I don't want to create bulk. So there is that one piece I'm just making sure is fully on my nail. So I don't have to worry about my gel base really moving on me because the powder has absorbed into the gel base, so it's going to stay put a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and do my thumb. So I'm applying a thin, even layer of gel base to my thumb. I will pour over Fresh Snow. If there are any glitters that are kind of half on my nail, half off, I'll kind of move them around, make sure everything's in place, making sure to clean up the gel, and then I will cure for 30 seconds. So when I'm working with just gels, no powders, I'll do my thumb separately, but because I'm working with powders, the powders is absorbing into the gel base, so I can do my thumb along with my other hand and not really worry as much about it running on me. For my second layer, I want to make sure that I do pick up some of the larger glitter pieces, so I'm going to lay my finger into my powder. So I went ahead and poured the rest of my jar of Fresh Snow into my Chaos Gemerald while my nails were curing for 30 seconds. So now that they're fully cured, I dusted off the excess powder. So for my second layer, I'm going to apply my thin, even layer of gel base to my entire nail. So I'm not going to do my thumb and pinky at the same time with the gel base, but once I have the powder on my pinky, then I can go ahead and do my thumb, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to very gently lay my finger into Fresh Snow. So I want to make sure that I'm not moving around the gel, so I don't want to jam my finger in. I'm just very gently laying it on top, pressing in to pick up more of those glitters, which I do get better coverage in my second layer. When you pour over, you don't really pick up the larger glitter pieces, which is why I'm doing it this way. So once I've kind of moved everything around, did a little bit of cleanup, I'll do the same thing for my thumb. And I feel like I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to let you watch the rest of this process. Instead of using clear dip powder to encapsulate, I will be using my clear builder gel from West Coast Dips, but before I get into that, I want to make sure I'm applying a layer of gel base first. And the reason I'm doing that is because the clear builder gel needs something to adhere to. So my gel base is a tacky layer for my builder gel to adhere to. If I do it without the gel base, there is a possibility the builder gel will peel off my dip powder nails in the middle of filing buffing, which kind of defeats the purpose of the encapsulation with the clear builder gel. So I'm applying a thin, even layer of gel base to all my nails, and I'm going to give that a cure for a full 30 seconds, and then I will get into the builder gel encapsulation. Now I will say I am not using clear dip powder because clear dip powder does not play nicely with gels. So if you are doing gel method, I don't recommend you encapsulate with clear dip powder. You probably either want to use gel base and gel top coat or gel base and clear builder gel, but if you use clear dip powder, it could look grainy. It may not look right if you use that with gel method. Now I'm getting into my builder gel encapsulation, so I'm going to do this to all my nails. So if you're not familiar with builder gel, it is a thicker gel than like your basic gel top coat. So builder gel is like a medium gel. So soft gels are like your regular gels, your gel top coats. Your hard gels are file off only, you can't soak them off. But builder gel is kind of in between that. It is a thicker gel, but it is strong enough to where I could build out extensions, so I could build length with it and they would stay really strong. So I really like builder gel, especially when I'm working with chunkier glitters, because it really protects my glitters from any filing and buffing because it's so thick. Because really if I use a gel top coat, it's not very thick, so it's not going to protect as much as a builder gel would. I will say that the colder it is, the thicker your builder gel is going to be. So if it's too thick for you to work with, if it's winter where you're at, if it's really cold, you may want to consider warming it up a little bit first. So you can put it in your pocket, you can put it in your bra. I sit on my bottle sometimes. You can put it in a cup of warm water and let it sit for a bit. And warming it up will help it thin out a little bit and make it easier to use. I didn't do that. I didn't think mine was too thick to use. But if you have that problem, that's what you can do. Now I'm working on my chunkiest nail. This is the chunkiest glitter, so I'm making sure to apply a generous amount of builder gel on there, making sure not to get it on my skin, but I want a thick enough amount to protect my glitters when I file and buff. And I love how clear and blingy glitters look under builder gel. So I just applied it around my nail, and now I want to make sure I'm covering all my sidewalls and my cuticle areas. So I'm just taking this liner brush. I think I got it off of maybe AliExpress a couple years ago, something like that, just a cheaper brush. It's just a thinner brush, so I can make sure that I'm capturing like all the little crevices where there may not be a piece of glitter, where it's uneven. I want my surface to be as smooth and even as possible. So because builder gel is thicker, I'm using that builder gel, if there are any uneven areas, to kind of make up that difference, to make it smooth. Because this was a chunkier nail and I put a lot more builder gel on it than my other nails, once I finished that, I gave it a flash cure for 15 seconds, finished up my pinky, and then when I was done with all my fingers, I gave my hand a full cure for 60 seconds in my lamp. And then once that was fully cured, I wiped off the tacky layer with some isopropyl alcohol, and then I went ahead and filed and buffed off camera. So here's how it's looking. I know my cuticles and hands are looking especially crusty and dry, but that's because of the isopropyl alcohol. So now I'm going to get into a little bit of nail art using my white liner gel from CN Designer Dips. So I want to draw sort of a Christmas tree design on my index finger. So what I'm doing is I'm starting at the top and I'm going to start drawing like zigzags down my nail, and the further down my nail I go, the wider it's going to get. So I want it narrow at the top and then wider down the bottom gradually to kind of create that Christmas tree look. Now these liner gels have really great opacity, so I only need one layer. So I'm just making sure that my zigzag lines are connected. And then once I have my tree the way I want it, I'm going to give it a full cure for 60 seconds. You do need to cure your liner gels for 60 seconds because of the opacity. So once I've got that fully cured, I decided I wanted to manually place a little bit of glitter around the tree as ornaments. So I'm pouring a little bit of that glitter into my Chaos Gemerald, and ignore that fact that you saw me spill a little bit of glitter and pretend that didn't happen. So I am going to apply a layer of gel base to my index finger. I am not going to cure it. And then I'm going to take my orange wood stick and manually place the glitters. So I'm going to put a little bit of that gel base on the end of my orange wood stick, pick up a piece of glitter, place it on my nail, and I'm going to continue on until I'm happy with the way it looks. And then I will give that a cure for 30 seconds to freeze it when I am done. For my middle finger, I wanted to do a snowflake, but I always do the same kind of snowflake with the dots, so I wanted to try something different. So I'm using my favorite thin liner brush. This is from the Painter Desert. This is a 12mm one. And what I found is if you want to draw a long straight line, it is much easier to use a longer brush. I don't know what it is. I honestly thought that if I did a shorter brush with smaller strokes, it would be better, but they come out a lot straighter with this long brush. So I just created a cross on the middle of my nail, and then I'm going to draw diagonal lines through it. So I'm kind of making the quadrants for the snowflake. Once I have that base structure for my snowflake design, I'm going to go ahead and flash cure it for 15 seconds so it doesn't move on me, and that way if I mess up the rest, I still have that base in place. So next what I'm going to do is, I'm not even sure what you call them, but I'm going to build like flakes off of these lines. So I'm trying to make them as small as possible. So this is, I believe, my 5mm brush from the Painted Desert. So it's very short, it's very thin because I only have like a little bit of room to work with. So I'm going to do 2 of these branches. I don't know what you call these things, but 2 of these branches on each of the stems of the snowflake. Man, I need to learn snowflake anatomy, but I'm going to continue on. I'm going to draw this, and then once I am done, I will use a dotting tool to do a dot on each end of the snowflake and draw that out to like a point, and then I will cure it. I don't know if that made any sense at all. I'm having a really hard time explaining it, but hopefully you can watch and know what I'm talking about instead of listening to me talk about who knows what. I fully cured my Snowflake for 60 seconds, so now we're going to get into top coat. But similar to the builder gel, in order for my top coat to have something to adhere to, I do need a layer of gel base first. So if you're working with a gel top coat on dip powder nails, if it peels on you, make sure you're applying a layer of gel base first. So I'm applying a thin layer of gel base. I'm going to cure that for 30 seconds, and then I will apply my gel top coat and cure that for 60 seconds. As always, I'm going to finish off my mani by rehydrating my cuticles, and I'm using my scales of Mermaid cuticle oil. This is in the scent Breaking News, I Don't Care, which was a limited edition scent, but great news that it was voted back into the main line. So starting on December 17th, I believe at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it will be available at all times as a mainline scent. So I'm super excited for this because this is so good and everyone needs this. And here we are with the finished look. What do you think? I just love the way the glitter pops under that builder gel. I feel like it just makes it extra glassy and shiny and so beautiful. So I definitely recommend if you're working with a glitter, you want it to look a little extra blingy, or you're worried about filing through it, builder gel is a great option if you're able to use gel. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, I'd appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It lets me know to continue creating content like this, and it also helps YouTube recommend me to others, which helps grow my channel. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I upload content every Monday and Thursday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As always, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.